for democracy, and we stand with them. Thank you very much. Et je passe maintenant la parole à ma collègue, la ministre des Affaires étrangères, Mélanie Joly.
Today is a dark day. Last night, Russia launched an unjustified attack on Ukraine. Over the past several months, we have said that Russia was positioning troops and equipment to invade Ukraine. Russia said that it was not, that there was nothing to worry about. Russia lied. We said that Russian military buildups along the border were continuing to grow. Russia said exercises were complete and it was withdrawing troops. This was a complete fabrication. Russia told us their military exercises in Belarus would end on the 20th of February. Today, Russian forces are invading Ukraine from the territory of Belarus. We said that Russia would fabricate a pretext for military intervention in Ukraine, and Russia has tried to do that repeatedly, although in no way convincingly. Russia argued that the Minsk agreements were to be the only roadmap to peace. This week, Vladimir Putin declared the Minsk process dead. For Russia, this was never any question of a diplomatic, for Russia, there was never any question of a diplomatic solution or an honest conversation about security in Europe. That this was always about Russia taking control over Ukraine's sovereignty. Russia is solely responsible for this crisis. They have chosen deception, intimidation, and a manufactured crisis based on lies and false flag operations. Today, the Russian regime is challenging the world order that has kept us safe since the Second World War. Au cours des derniers mois, nous avons dit que la Russie mettait en place des troupes et des équipements pour envahir l'Ukraine. La Russie a dit que ce n'était pas le cas, qu'il n'avait pas lieu de s'inquiéter. La Russie a menti. Nous avons dit que le renforcement militaire, le russe, le long de la frontière ukrainienne continuait de croître. La Russie a dit qu'elle allait retirer ses troupes. C'était une pure invention. La Russie nous a dit que ses exercices militaires au Bélarus prendraient fin le 20 février. Aujourd'hui, ils envahissent l'Ukraine via le Bélarus. La Russie a affirmé que les accords de Minsk étaient le seul chemin vers la paix. Cette semaine, Vladimir Poutine a explicitement déclaré que le processus de Minsk était mort. La Russie a donc prouvé au monde entier la véritable nature du régime de Vladimir Poutine. Ils sont les seuls responsables de cette crise qu'ils ont créée par la désinformation, la manipulation et la mauvaise foi. Earlier today, I have been in touch with the office of President Zelensky, with the Deputy Prime Minister, Finance Minister, and the Foreign Minister of Ukraine. I have been in touch with many of my G7 counterparts and the Secretary General of NATO. We're united. Canada stands with Ukraine and its people. Alongside our allies and partners, we will ensure Russia's actions do not go unpunished. You have heard the Prime Minister. We will impose a strong package of new sanctions targeting all major banks, oligarchs, member of the National Council, including Minister of Defense Shoigu, Minister of Finance Silvanov, and Minister of Justice Trichenko. Canada will also block exports to Russia that require permits. Existing permits will be cancelled and all applications will be denied. No aerospace, technology, and mineral goods will be sent to Russia. Canada has one of the strongest package of sanctions being released today. And together with those from our allies, we're inflicting severe pain on the Russian regime and the Russian economy. We call on Russia to stop its attack immediately and to return to the path of dialogue and diplomacy. This madness has to stop. Comme vous l'avez entendu de la part du Premier ministre, nous imposons des nouvelles sanctions visant toutes les grandes banques russes, les oligarques qui font partie de la garde rapprochée du président Poutine, les membres du Conseil national, notamment le ministre de la Défense, des Finances et de la Justice. Le Canada bloquera également toutes les exportations vers la Russie qui nécessitent des permis. Les permis existants seront annulés et toutes les demandes seront refusées. Aucun bien lié au secteur de l'aérospatial, de la technologie ou encore des minéraux ne pourront être exportés vers la Russie. Le Canada a mis en place l'un des ensembles de sanctions les plus vigoureux et avec ceux de nos alliés, le but est d'affaiblir et d'ébranler le régime russe et son économie. I also spoke again this morning to Canada's ambassador to Ukraine. Our staff are now safely in Poland. As soon as we're able to ensure adequate delivery of services, they will return to Ukraine. Consular services remain available to Canadians in Ukraine. Information on how to reach Global Affairs can be found on our website and on my social media channels. Should there be a surge in demand for consular assistance, we are ready. Our teams in Ottawa, Warsaw, and major European cities are on standby to support. The safety and security of all Canadians is our highest priority. Canadians in Ukraine should shelter in place unless they are able to leave the country safely. I'd like to finish by expressing that I know that the pain we're inflicting on Russia does not compare to that being felt by the Ukrainian people today. You can be assured that Canada and the world is with you. J'aimerais conclure en disant que je comprends que les sanctions que nous imposons à la Russie ne sont pas comparables à la douleur que ressent le peuple ukrainien aujourd'hui. Soyez assurés que le Canada et le monde entier est avec vous aujourd'hui. Merci. I will now pass the floor to my colleague Anita Anand.
Bonjour tout le monde. Today is a devastating day for the Ukrainian people, for democratic societies, and for all those who stand for peace and security. Indeed, some in the West have taken peace and security for granted before today. Some may have believed that what is happening right now in Ukraine, in Europe, could not, would not take place. But it is. Putin has chosen to deliberately invade Ukraine, a sovereign, democratic nation that did nothing to warrant this aggression. I am sure many of us could not even imagine what it must have felt like being woken up by explosions. Aujourd'hui est un jour dévastateur pour le peuple ukrainien, pour les sociétés démocratiques et pour tous qui défendent la paix et la sécurité. Poutine a choisi d'envahir délibérément l'Ukraine, une nation souveraine et démocratique, qui n'a rien fait pour justifier cette agression. When I visited Ukraine last month, I met with countless hardworking and good people, and I am heartbroken now to know that those same people are fighting for their futures, for their very right to exist as a sovereign people. And to my Ukrainian counterpart, my friend, Minister Resnikov, whom I saw only a few days ago and with whom I am in daily touch, and to all Canadians I say, I am with you, we are with you, Canada is with you. I offer my condolences to the families of the Ukrainians who have been brutally killed, and I wish a speedy recovery to the injured. My thoughts are also with the 1.3 million Ukrainian Canadians watching these unfolding events in horror. Let's be clear. Putin is responsible for these needless deaths, for violating the UN Charter, and for violating the international rules-based order at the same time. And comme Mélanie a déjà dit, in the last few weeks, Putin has tried to convince the world that the path that he has chosen is reasonable and legitimate, mais ce n'est pas le cas, pas du tout. Putin's actions are not only illegal, they are unconscionable. He has flagrantly disregarded the fundamental rights of Ukrainians to peace, freedom, and self-determination. Since 2014, in fact, Russia has set the stage for this unprovoked invasion, indeed further invasion of Ukraine, for this unwarranted attack on a sovereign people for this deliberate undermining of the rules-based international order. And there are no arguments that Putin can put forward that could legitimize the choices that he has made. We will not stand for this attack on the rules-based international order. Notre détermination à faire respecter cet ordre international fondé sur les règles et à soutenir la sécurité de l'Ukraine, de l'Europe et du monde est inébranlable. Our resolve is unwavering. Since the very beginning, when Crimea was invaded in 2014, Canada has been there with Ukraine and all those under threat from Russia's actions. I want to outline 5 points. First, we've been there with strong and coordinated economic sanctions, which will continue to weaken Russia. Second, by putting in place, then extending and expanding Operation Unifier. Under this mission, our Canadian Armed Forces have trained more than 35,000 of their Ukrainian counterparts to help them defend themselves against an eventuality like this one. We have watched Ukraine's soldiers become a more disciplined, more agile, and more effective fighting force. And as soon as conditions allow, we will continue to provide training and capacity building to the Ukrainian military under Operation Unifier. We have also been providing support from a cyber perspective and will continue to do so. Third, by providing significant financial contributions to strengthen Ukraine's institutions and economy, approximately $700 million in total. Fourth, by providing nearly $10 million worth of lethal and non-lethal equipment, which has arrived in full and in time to be effective and useful. Fifth, and finally, by announcing this week the expansion of Operation Reassurance to bolster NATO's eastern flank and to make it clear to Putin that we stand with our allies and our partners in the face of Russian aggression and destabilization efforts. We have also placed 3,400 military personnel across all branches of the service on standby to deploy to the NATO response force should they be required. We have constantly demonstrated, in short, our support for our allies and our partners in the face of authoritarianism and such aggression. I want to personally thank our Canadian Armed Forces for the critical work that they have done to prepare our Ukrainian friends for this fight. In the coming days, months, and years, your country will continue to ask more of you, given the increasingly dangerous world, just made significantly more dangerous. Your service is more important than ever. And I will do everything in my power to ensure that you are resourced to fight and win. And I can confirm that Canadian Armed Forces are ready to assist with the whole of government efforts in the region. Finally, I will remain in close contact with our NATO allies, our Ukrainian partners, and with Minister Resnikov. We cannot allow Putin to redraw maps and to rewrite history to suit his own purposes. We must